Hello again, everybody. Welcome to Below the 38. I think this is episode 27. We may have miscounted along the way, and it is the weekend that was. It is our new session that we do every Sunday or Monday where we look at the results over the weekend in K-League 1, K-League 2, and if we have a little bit of time, we'll delve into a talking point or two. It's just myself, Andrew, and Luke here again. Hi, Luke.
Hello.
Recording this on Monday night. Mike is still away. He's back home in England for family reasons. There is a full schedule in K-League 1 this midweek, Tuesday and Wednesday, which would be the 12th and the 13th of May. We are not going to preview those games, obviously, because we just don't have enough time. But the good news is that Luke and I will be back on Wednesday night, or at the very, very latest on Thursday, to look back over the midweek results in K-League 1 and also preview the upcoming weekend. Just to let you know, I will put in a link in the description too, but our website is up and running, Luke, below the 38 korea.com. What have you contributed so far?
I've been working on a lot of the ground previews. So for people wanting to go to games, we've been looking at how to get there, what the tips are regarding tickets, where you can eat around the stadium, and just interesting bits of information for people wanting to go to games. I've also got an article coming out that's going to look at the first set of fixtures that we've played leading up to this World Cup break that's coming, and we're going to grade the teams on how they've been doing so far this season. No spoilers, but Gwangju have not been graded very highly.
That sucks. Well, that's going to be the end of the Gwangju. That'll be the end of the Gwangju fans listening to this. If you go onto the stadium guide section on our home page, you will see a matchday guide to Suwon World Cup Stadium, Anyang Stadium, Gwangju Stadium, Pohang Steel Yard, Incheon Football Stadium, and Busan Stadium. I got one in the can about Jeju, and I'll probably do one on Suwon FC as well. So yeah, I always like writing about stadiums because it's this thing that, again, we're so interested in talking about on Below the 38. I also wrote something about how annoying the Blue Wings are at the moment, and a quick preview, which is probably good because we're not going to have any time to talk about the midweek games. So there is an article on site previewing the upcoming matches. Right, let's get straight into this. Mike will be along to join us later on. He won't be joining us in terms of this call, but he has sent us in some videos from his trip back to the United Kingdom, and we will catch up with him later on. VAR may or may not appear in his videos at some point. So K-League 1, weekend 13 of 33. The results over the weekend, Luke, a couple of surprises, a couple of a usual 0-0, and a bit of late drama everywhere. Tell us all about it.
Yeah, so we started on Saturday. It was a 2:00 kickoff in Jeju, and Seoul travelled to the island. You would have expected them to pick up 3 points. I think they've been on a tear this year. They went down 2 goals very early, one either side of half-time, and then they pulled one back in the second half. They had a lot of the ball. They had about 50 touches in Jeju's box, but they couldn't make any of them count. It finished 2-1, and I think it's going to be worrying for Seoul. They're losing form at the minute. For Jeju, it's a great win, and it kind of underlines the improvement they've seen in recent weeks. The next game was Gwangju versus Gangwon, and we were taking bets on how many goals Gangwon would score. Gangwon have been playing very well this year, but the game finished 0-0. That's a run of 8 consecutive defeats for Gwangju put to an end. It's also one of their first clean sheets of the season, possibly their first clean sheet of the season. Kim Dong-hwa, the goalkeeper, saved a penalty. He saved one against Magosa when they beat Incheon early in the season, and he saved another one. It was a very good save. There wasn't really much quality in the game. There was not much else that happened. I think both sides had 3 shots each in the game, which is an indication of how poor it was. But yeah, very good for Gwangju. They've got a point, and they're now only 6 points behind 11th place. A little bit more way to go. Saturday afternoon as well, we had Gimcheon versus Incheon. Mugosa was missing for Incheon, and we had Morgan Ferrier playing up front, and he got on the score sheet. 2 goals for Incheon through Hwani Bitha and Lee Dong-yul in the first half, and then Morgan Ferrier scored in the second half to make it 3-0. There was a penalty that was overturned by VAR, and then Gimcheon also had a goal disallowed, so it could have been very different in the end of the day, but 3-0 to Incheon, 3 points, everybody goes home very happy. Pohang went to Daejeon and won 2-0. The first goal was quite controversial. It was one that we've seen ruled out quite a lot this season. There was a high boot in the build-up and the ball dropped to the striker and he put the ball in the goal. Generally, you would see anything like that ruled out by VAR, but they allowed the goal to stand. It's quite inconsistent, which is what we've seen in K-League a lot this year. And then late on in injury time, Pohang made it 2-0. Very good win for Pohang. But for Daejeon, it's another case of inconsistencies creeping in and not being able to make the most of the possession that they've had. Into Sunday we had Ulsan versus Busan. It was a very close game and it could have honestly gone either way. The goal for Ulsan, it finished 1-0. The goal for Ulsan was a mix-up at the back. There was some dallying on the ball by the Bucheon backline. Maikon snatched the ball off the defender, put it across the goal, and Lee Dong-kyung was there to finish, and that's how it stayed. There could have been opportunities there for Bucheon. Ulsan could have scored more goals. I think a draw would have been a fair result. It was a good showing from Bucheon, but in the end, Ulsan have ground out another win. And then our final game was Saturday evening, Saturday 4:30, and it was Anyang versus Jeonbuk. Again, another exciting game, and it's another game between clubs with very different financial backing. Aitong gave Anyang the lead, and then Lee Seung-woo equalised for Jeonbuk. Anyang probably should have had a penalty as well. The VAR gods took a long time to decide it wasn't a penalty. I think Anyang will feel hard done to. As a neutral watching the game, I was actually texting saying that was definitely a penalty. But it was a point each, and I think it's still a good point for Anyang. It's 2 points dropped for Jeonbuk, but it could have been much worse for Jeonbuk, I think.
Yeah, I was also saying in that particular group chat that I was convinced the referee was going to find a way not to give that penalty. And so I just think as well, like if there's going to be delay on the pitch, we don't want to go into this whole VAR thing again, but it's a delay in the pitch and the referee is called to the sideline to have a look at this. You got to think it's a penalty. Like, at what point do you just take these decisions out of the referee's hands? Anyway, that Seoul Jeju game we're talking about. Jeju are a bit of a bogey team now for FC Seoul. They've won 4 out of the last 5 against FC Seoul. It's a really good record, and especially given the fact that they nearly got relegated last season. Seoul remain top of the table, but their lead has been cut to 3 points because they've only picked up 1 point from their last 9 available. But it is Ulsan who now jump up at the second spot thanks to that 1-0 win over Bucheon Jeonbuk by virtue of dropping a couple of points, and Anyang are down to third. They're still on a pretty good run of form at the moment. And if you look at Gwangju's form guide at the moment, the red X's have now been replaced by a grey, like minus symbol to suggest a draw. And as usual in K-League 1, the gap between some teams at the top and some teams at the bottom is extremely narrow. Pohang Steelers are on 19 points and they are 4th. But Bucheon FC 1995, who have lost 4 out of the last 5, are only actually 6 points behind them on 13 points. It's incredibly tight as usual in K-League 1. But Seoul maintained their advantage at the top going into the World Cup break. They're going to need to pick up wins pretty soon to make sure that they stay there. Ulsan and Jeonbuk should probably join them in the top 3 when the World Cup break rolls around. Gwangju are likely to be 12th, but the positions between 4 and 11 are likely to change several times between now and then. Thanks for that, Luke. So let's have a look at the K-League 2 results. Now that Mike is not here, somebody had to pick up the dreaded mantle of going through all the K-League 2 results from the weekend, and unfortunately that is going to be me this week. Week 11 of the season. There were 8 matches evenly split between Saturday and Sunday. The way it worked out was a good selection of games actually on Saturday. All 4 of them, from what I can remember, were decent. Definitely all 4 of them on Saturday were good. There was only one real standout game on Sunday, and the way the results had worked out up until that point, it turned out to be the most significant game of the weekend as well. It all started off, though, at the Eastern Stadium, where former Blue Wing forward Lee Jong-min scored a hat-trick, helping his old side, as Cheongnam Asan, who have gone through a bit of a managerial merry-go-round at the start of the season, despite starting pretty well, destroyed Seoul Ilan 3-0. It's been a bit of a Jekyll and Hyde season for Seoul Ilan so far, but with the Blue Wings failing to pick up points, or 3 points in their last couple of games, they remain very much in touch of the top two at the moment. Suwon has said they failed to take advantage of that with a lackluster draw to Daegu. We're going to get on to why we're not talking about that particular game later on. Suwon FC also had a chance to make up some ground at the top of the table. They kicked off at the same time as Seoul Eland, and they knew a win would increase the pressure on the Blue Wings after that big derby win last weekend. But they needed a Matthias Fritzo penalty. That's the 6th goal of the season on the 89th minute to avoid a defeat at the surprise package Hwasong, who are still very much in the playoff hunt as things go along. And Cheongju FC, they were so close to the first win of the season, but yet again they conceded late on, well past the 90th minute, to Gimpo, who still haven't played a home match this season. Cheongju have now recorded 9 draws in their first 11 matches, 2 defeats going on with that. Absolutely incredible stuff. A bit like Hwasong, Gimpo continue to hang on to the playoff spots in the conversation before their long-awaited trip back to their home stadium, Salta, which is going under some redevelopment at the moment. As I said, there was considerably less excitement on Sunday. There was a 0-0 draw in Songnam, which we definitely don't need to talk about. But Busan very much took advantage of the Blue Wings, Suwon FC, and Seoul Iland not winning at the weekend. They had a nervy 1-0 win over Cheonan, another team that's surpassing expectations this season. That's a big win for Busan. They go 5 points clear, and with the Blue Wings not playing this coming weekend and Busan hosting Hwasong, there is a major opportunity for them to go 8 points clear before the Blue Wings take the pitch again. So there we go. K-League 2, done and dusted, Luke.
Yeah, so table-wise, it's as it was at the top. Busan are at the top. They're now 5 points ahead of Blue Wings, who remain in second. The gap between Blue Wings and Eland is 4 points. And then Suwon FC, who've played a game less, are only 1 point behind Eland. So it's all very close. Regarding the rest of the playoff picture, Hwasong are doing really well. They're undefeated in 5 and they sit in 5th place. Daegu are in the final playoff spot and they are equal on points with Cheongnam Asan, following Cheongnam Asan's good win over Eland. Gimpo, Songnam, Cheonan City and Paju are still in the playoff conversation. Paju in 11th are on 13 points and Daegu in the final playoff spot are on 15 points. So it's still all to play for. Gimhae are still bottom of the table on 2 points. Jeonnam are above them on 6 points. And then Cheongju and Yongin are in 15th place and 16th place. It's really close. There's only 6 points between 6th position and 15th position, which is incredible when you think Cheongju haven't won a game yet and they're only 6 points off the playoffs. It's mental. There's always 1 or 2 surprise packages in K-League 2. Cheonan City did very well against Incheon last year. Hwasong looked dangerous when they played Incheon and when they played Suwon Blue Wings. They nearly beat Blue Wings last season, and it's good to see them pushing on. It's a nice little project that there's going there. I think there's a lot more twists and turns before the end of the season, and similar to K-League 1, there's going to be a lot of movement in the table.
Yeah, again, I should mention this too. Obviously, with the Blue Wings not playing this weekend, it's one of those things that we have to consider about K-League 2 that we don't need to talk about, fortunately, in K-League 1, is that there's always a team that has a bye week. And like very often, it could be a team like Jeonbuk Cheongju or Jeonnam Dragons or Gyeongnam FC, and we don't really bat an eyelid to that. It doesn't have any impact on the promotion spots, and it absolutely does not have an impact on the championship race. But I think I may have made a mistake before. I think I said Busan are playing at home to Hwasong, but they're going away to Hwasong. It's going to be a very tricky game for them Sunday at 4:30. But again, if they can win that game, that opens up a huge gap at the top of the table, because the other sides chasing the Blue Wings will not be able to overtake them this coming weekend. So but Busan will be 8 points clear if they win. at the weekend. And like Suwon as well, Suwon FC are playing Cheongju Masan, who just recorded that really big win over Seoul. So it's not going to be easy. Seoul are hosting Yongin, and because of the way their season's going, having just got slaughtered in Ichunsin Stadium, it wouldn't surprise us if they just went ahead and beat Yongin 6-0 this coming Saturday. It just seems to be how it's going in that league.
Yeah, and if we think back to last year, Incheon were on average about 8 points clear for the majority of the season. I think if you can be 8 points clear after 12 games, then you've definitely got, you hold all the marbles. It's a good position to be in, and Suwon don't have a good history of chasing. They struggled when Anyang got promoted. They were never really in the title race after June last year when Incheon were top. I mean, if you get into the summer and it's still 8 points between Busan and Suwon Blue Wings, I think Suwon will be looking down at Eland and Suwon and maybe even Hwasong more than they're looking up at Busan. I mean, it doesn't really matter if they finish first or second. Yeah. Realistically, they want to be promoted, but it would be, for a team of Suwon's stature, it'd be almost embarrassing to be promoted without winning the title after 4 years in K-League 2.
Do you know what would be?
I'm not sure.
Do you want to know what would be embarrassing? Embarrassing would not be getting promoted after celebrating wildly after wins against Gimhae, Paju, and Yongin. And guess what? There's an article about that on below38korea.com. Nice little segue into that. As Mike is kind of with us this week. He is and he isn't. He's back in England for about a week or so. He's not in Liverpool as far as I know. I think he's down in London at the weekend. So what did you call him before he came? Did you call him a roving reporter?
The roving reporter, yeah. So Mike's got some interesting insight into what he's been doing. He's going to let us know what he thinks of the K-League 1 results and the K-League 2 results. So here's Mike.
What a day of fixtures it's been on the Saturday, especially in the K2. Blue Wings, well, I guess Busan can really get a 5-point lead now. It's quite incredible. And what's happened there at Eland? They've been given a bit of a reprieve thanks to Daegu's efforts. But what I'm really going to miss out on this weekend is what's going to happen at the Hwa Stadium when Yongin visit there, because Ansan could be just a point behind Daegu by the end of this weekend, which is absolutely phenomenal. And what's going on in the K1 as well? Incheon marching on, Jeju winning against Seoul. Absolutely bonkers weekend this has been so far in the K-League. So sorry I'm missing it, but I guess I'll just have to soak in the sun on the Thames. Take care, lads. I'll see you next week.
Thank you very much for that, Mike. We don't actually know when you're coming back. Are we doing a K-League 2 preview? Upcoming weekends, we'll see. I think Mike is back on Wednesday. I'm not sure. We might be able to get a K-League 2 preview out before the upcoming weekend. Luke and I will be back for a K-League 1 preview. However, we're aiming to do this on Wednesday after the last of the midweek fixtures. I will be at a game. I presume you're working for Incheon's game against Pohang. The usual situation.
Yeah, my boss is a slave driver. But yeah, no. Just moving on from that. If you wanted to know what games we saw this weekend, you want to know more, if you want to know more about Gimcheon and Incheon, and if you want to know Andrew's feelings on the fantastic Suwon Blue Wings, check out our YouTube channel. We have a new video up called Off the Record. We recorded it on Sunday afternoon, and we just wanted to go into a bit more detail about our weekends travelling to the game and how it went for us. Rather than just talking about the football, we wanted to talk more about the actual experience of the football and of the game itself. So youtube.com, below the 38th, you can actually see Off the Record there with all the rest of our videos.
Yeah, I'll put a link into the description of this as well. And you can all our videos as well are making their way onto the website as well. So if you just save that Below the 38 Korea website, you'll get access to all of our YouTube information, our YouTube videos as well as our articles. Well, I think that's it. Good luck on the midweek fixtures. 6 games coming up. Looking forward to it. We will review all of those on Wednesday night or on Thursday. Luke and I'll be back for that, and then we'll see you again next week for